Hello, and welcome to the Super English Talks. I'm Jara, your host for today, and I am really happy that you are here with me. Today's session is going to be something special, something that could truly change the way you think and remember things. Have you ever experienced this? You meet someone new, and just a few seconds later, you completely forget their name. Or maybe you've studied for hours for an exam, but when the test comes, your mind goes completely blank. Maybe you've walked into a room and forgotten why you even went there. Or sometimes, your head feels so full of information that it's impossible to remember what really matters. If any of this sounds familiar, then today's episode is not just for you, it was made for you. You are about to learn some powerful steps that can unlock your brain's incredible potential, help you improve your memory, and let you remember almost anything you want forever. But this isn't just a list of 5 quick tricks to help you remember things. No, today we are going deeper. We're going to explore a full system that can completely transform the way your brain works. And the best part? While you train your amazing memory, you'll also improve your English skills. Every sentence you hear here is simple, clear, and carefully chosen to help you understand better, grow your vocabulary, and practice English the way people actually speak in real life. So whether your goal is to pass exams with confidence, remember everything you read in a book, speak English more fluently, or simply train your mind to think more clearly, this episode will help you. I invite you to stay with me until the end because the steps I'm about to share are powerful. If you truly follow them, you will never again forget what is important. You will finally feel what it's like to trust your own mind. Let's start our journey together. The first step is understanding how your memory really works. This is the foundation for everything else. Here's the truth. The real reason we forget things is not what most people think. Before you can learn how to remember everything, you need to understand why forgetting happens. Many people believe they have a bad memory. They might say, "I'm just not smart enough," or "my brain feels weak," or "I can't memorize anything no matter how hard I try." But that's not true. You don't have a weak memory, you have an untrained memory. And the very first mistake we all make is that we were never taught how our memory actually works. Let me explain it in the simplest way I can. Imagine your brain is like a giant library, full of endless shelves waiting to be filled with knowledge. Every time you learn something new, a person's name, a date, a fact, or a new English word, it's like putting a new book on one of those shelves. But here's the problem. If you just throw the book on a random shelf without paying attention, without labeling it properly, and without checking it again later, that book will get lost. It will disappear among millions of other books. That's exactly what happens in your mind every day. Information comes in, but it doesn't stay because your brain hasn't been taught how to move it from short-term memory to long-term memory. This is the most important secret, the difference between short-term memory and long-term memory. Let me explain. Your short-term memory is like a small whiteboard. You can write something on it very quickly, like a phone number someone just told you. But if you don't do anything to save it, it will be erased in just a few seconds to make room for the next piece of information. And that's why it's so easy to forget things. But don't worry, that's about to change. In this podcast, we will go step by step through the methods you can use to train your memory so it becomes strong, reliable, and easy to use. Your long-term memory is very different from short-term memory. Think of it like a permanent notebook carved in stone. Once something is written there, it can stay for a very, very long time, sometimes even forever. The problem is that most people never actually use this notebook. Instead, they keep almost everything in their short-term memory, the temporary whiteboard we talked about. For example, you might hear someone's name but never repeat it. You might read a page in a book but never really connect with it. You might study for an exam at the last minute, cramming everything into your brain, but never review the material later. Because of this, the information never makes that crucial journey from your temporary whiteboard to the permanent notebook. It never reaches your long-term memory, and so it disappears. Let's look at a real-life example. Imagine you're at a social event, a party, or maybe a work function. You meet someone new. They smile and say, "Hi, I'm Ethan." You smile back, shake their hand, and chat for a few minutes about the weather or work. Then you walk away. 5 minutes later, a friend asks, "So, what was that person's name?" And your mind goes completely blank. Nothing. Why did that happen? It's simple. Your brain heard the name, but it never truly processed it. The name Ethan was written on the whiteboard of your short-term memory, but you never told your brain to save it. You didn't repeat it. You didn't link it to anything emotional or visual. You didn't pay enough real attention. And just like that, it vanished. Now, imagine the same situation, but this time you do things a little differently. You meet the person, and he says, "Hi, I'm Ethan." This time, you pause for a second. You think to yourself, Ethan, like the actor Ethan Hawke. You create a small mental connection. You might even picture him holding an award. Then, you repeat his name out loud. "It's really nice to meet you, Ethan." Later, during the conversation, you use his name again. "So, Ethan, what do you do for work?" Now your brain has done 3 very important things. It focused, it connected, and it repeated. You have built a stronger pathway for that piece of information. You have labeled the book in your mental library clearly. The next time you see Ethan, you will remember his name. The lesson here is simple, but powerful. Memory is not something you are born with. It is a skill, just like learning to play an instrument or speak a language. And like any skill, it begins with understanding how the tool works. If you keep throwing information into your brain without knowing how to save it properly, you will always feel lost and frustrated. But if you start applying the methods you are learning right now, you will feel in control for the first time. So before we move to the next step, hold this one truth in your mind. Memory is a skill, and you can train it. Once you understand the process, you can start using your brain's full potential. Here's the truth you need to hear. Your memory is not broken, your system is. And today, we are going to build a new, powerful system together. Our second step is very simple but extremely important. Pay full attention. Because here's the thing, you cannot remember what you never truly noticed in the first place. Let me be very clear, most of us don't really have a memory problem. What we have is an attention problem. You cannot remember something you didn't really see. You cannot remember something you only half heard. You cannot remember something your brain never truly focused on. This step is so important because if you don't fix your attention, none of the memory techniques we've talked about will work. Think about your everyday life. Every day, your brain is flooded with millions of pieces of information, sights, sounds, colors, movements, words, faces, text messages, notifications from your phone, background noises, headlines, other people's voices. The list goes on. It's an endless stream. If your brain tried to remember everything, you would go completely crazy. It's too much. So your brain has a filter. It has to decide what to keep and what to forget. And how does it make that decision? It's based entirely on your attention. Think of your attention like a spotlight. Wherever you shine that spotlight, your brain says, this is important. Let's save this. But if you don't shine your spotlight, the information disappears as if it never existed. Your attention is the key that unlocks the door to your memory. Here's a scenario to make this crystal clear. Imagine you're getting out of a taxi or a rideshare car after a long day. You're tired. You're checking your phone for messages. You're already thinking about what you're going to eat for dinner. You pay the driver, say a quick thank you, and get out. A few steps later, you suddenly feel that horrible panic. You left your bag in the car. Your wallet, your passport, your laptop, everything is still inside. You try to remember the car's license plate, what the driver looked like, or even the company's name, but your brain gives you nothing. Total blank. Why did this happen? Because you were never truly paying attention. You saw the car, but you didn't really look at it. You heard the driver's voice, but you didn't really listen. Your brain never saved that information because you never gave it the command to do so. Your spotlight of attention was on your phone and your dinner plans, not on the car. Now, imagine if you had just paused for 1 second before getting out of the car. Imagine taking a breath, looking at the license plate, noticing the driver's friendly face, and telling yourself, okay, this is a blue Honda with the plate number 7X4Y2. That 1 second of focus, that one moment of shining your spotlight, could have saved you from all that stress and trouble. This happens to all of us every day in smaller ways. You might be sitting in a classroom or watching an online video. Someone says something really important, but your mind is already wandering somewhere else, thinking about the weekend or a problem at work. If you weren't truly paying attention, that important information simply disappears. Attention is the first step to memory. You cannot remember what you never really noticed. And the good news is, attention is a skill you can train. Once you learn to control your spotlight, your memory will start working much better automatically. Sometimes you might feel frustrated and say, I studied for hours, but I don't remember anything. Here's the truth. You didn't study with attention. You were physically present, but your mind was somewhere else. You hear the words, but they never truly enter your mind. You read a sentence in a book, but your thoughts are halfway on a song you heard earlier. You listen to a podcast, but you're also trying to text a friend at the same time. If your mind is not fully here, your memory won't be either. And honestly, it's not completely your fault. The modern world is designed to steal your attention. Social media with endless scrolling, constant notifications on your phone, the pressure to multitask, the noise of the city, everything trains your brain to stay distracted, jumping from one thing to the next without ever going deep. But the solution is simple. You can't save a file on your computer if you never opened it in the first place. Stop blaming your memory. Start paying attention. Every active memory begins with attention. Here's a simple exercise to practice right now. Whenever you want to remember something, whether it's a person's name, a key fact from a meeting, or a beautiful new English word, stop for a moment. Look at it. Listen to it. Say it out loud. Repeat it in your head. Give it your real, undivided attention for just 5 seconds. Those 5 seconds of pure focus can be the difference between remembering something for the rest of your life and forgetting it forever. Remember this: attention is the door. If you don't open it, nothing gets inside. This second step, training your attention, is the foundation of memory mastery. Now that your attention is trained, we can move on to step 3. Turn your words into pictures. Your brain does not remember words very well. It remembers images. Think about this. If I say the word elephant, what do you see in your mind? Do you picture the letters ELEPHANT? Of course not. You instantly see a big gray animal with a long trunk, large flapping ears, and thick legs walking slowly. Your brain stores information as pictures, movies, and sensory experiences, not as boring black and white text. So if you want to remember anything, a name, a word, a historical fact, a number, you need to convert it into a mental picture. Here's why this works. Words, especially new or abstract ones, can be boring for your brain. They are just symbols. For example, your brain might hear the word economics and think, okay, what now? But images are alive. They have color, emotion, shape, and movement. Your brain loves them. Let's try an example. You meet a woman named Lily. If you just try to remember the sound of her name, your brain might forget it in a few minutes. It's just a word. But if you use a mental picture, it becomes much stronger. Imagine her hair full of beautiful white lily flowers. Or picture her holding a big bouquet of lilies and smiling warmly. Suddenly, her name is no longer just a sound. It's connected to a vivid, memorable image. The more exaggerated, funny, or unusual the image, the stronger the memory becomes. Your brain thinks, wow, that's interesting. I need to keep this. Let's take another example, the English word volcano. Instead of just reading the letters and trying to remember them, picture a huge mountain erupting with bright red lava, smoke billowing into the sky, and rocks flying everywhere. Instantly, your brain creates a clear, memorable scene, and that's how you remember it. Don't just imagine a regular mountain when you're trying to remember something. That's too boring. Instead, picture something unusual, something exciting. For example, imagine a giant chocolate birthday cake, and suddenly it starts erupting like a volcano, with rivers of hot red chocolate lava flowing down. Now, add more senses. Hear it explode with a loud boom. Smell it, maybe the smell of burnt chocolate. It might sound silly, but that's exactly why it works. Your brain doesn't remember boring things. Memory is emotion. Memory is movement. Memory is created when your brain thinks, whoa, that's cool. I've never seen that before. Let's take another example, something very practical. Imagine you need to remember a simple shopping list: milk, eggs, a book, shoes, and to feed the cat. Don't just try to repeat it like a robot: milk, eggs, book, shoes, cat. That's weak, and your brain will forget it. Instead, let's create a picture story in your mind. Picture this: a giant carton of milk, so big it's wearing reading glasses and reading a book. The milk carton is sitting on top of a shiny pair of bright red shoes. Next to it, a very serious-looking cat, also wearing glasses, is watching the whole scene carefully. Then imagine eggs falling from the sky like soft snowflakes all around them. Can you see it? Can you smile at it? Maybe even laugh? That's exactly the point. Your brain is engaged. You are not just reading words. You are seeing a scene, a story, a movie in your mind. Now, you will never forget that list because your brain remembers stories and images, not boring bullet points. This is exactly how memory champions memorize hundreds of random words in minutes. It's how actors remember long scripts. It's how language learners remember thousands of new words. It's how business speakers deliver entire presentations without looking at notes. And now you can use this technique too. So from today, make this promise to yourself. Don't just read information, see it, feel it, animate it in your head. Turn names into funny faces. Turn ideas into moving pictures. Turn boring facts into unforgettable images. When you do this, your brain stops being like a leaky bucket, where information drips out as fast as it comes in. Instead, it becomes a secure vault, filled with clear, powerful, and unforgettable images. This technique alone can make your memory 10 times stronger, especially if you are learning new English vocabulary, preparing for speeches, or studying anything you want to remember forever. And that brings us to step 4. Use the story method. Your brain is wired for narrative, not for lists. Here's a life-changing truth. Your brain doesn't like boring, disconnected facts. It finds them hard to hold on to. But your brain loves drama, characters, and emotion. In other words, your brain loves stories. This is why the next memory tool is so powerful. If you want to remember anything in your life, wrap it in a story. This method has been used for centuries by memory champions, Hollywood actors, great teachers, powerful speakers, and even ancient philosophers. Let's understand why simple lists don't work well for our brains. Imagine someone gives you a list of 10 words and asks you to remember them in order: apple, horse, jacket, candle, ice cream, cloud, socks, chair, tree, monkey. If you just try to memorize this as a list of words, it will be very difficult. Your brain doesn't naturally remember things that way. But if you turn it into a story, each word becomes part of a vivid, memorable scene. Maybe a horse is eating an apple while wearing a jacket, standing next to a candle. Ice cream melts on top of a cloud. A cat in socks sits on a chair under a tree while a monkey watches. Suddenly, all 10 words are connected in one crazy, memorable story. Your brain loves this because it's unusual, visual, and full of movement. You will remember it much more easily. Now, let's see what happens if you try to memorize a list by just repeating the words over and over. Imagine the list: apple, horse, jacket, candle, ice cream, cloud, socks, chair, tree, monkey. If you just repeat these words like a robot, you might remember the first 3 or 4. Maybe, if you push really hard, 6. But after just 5 minutes, most of those words will be gone. Why? Because a list is disconnected. Each item floats alone in your mind. There are no links, no feelings, no relationships between the words. It's just random data. Your brain doesn't naturally remember random, boring data. Now, let's change the method completely. Instead of trying to memorize, we're going to create a story, a crazy, funny, emotional story that connects all the words. Are you ready? Let's build it together. A giant red apple falls from the sky and hits a beautiful white horse on the head. The horse is very surprised and screams. It then runs into a clothing store and steals a shiny leather jacket. Inside the dark store, the horse lights a candle to see, but accidentally gets too close to an ice cream cone, which melts instantly. The ice cream explodes upward and turns into a fluffy white cloud that rains down smelly socks. One of the socks hits a wooden chair, which magically grows into a tall green tree. From that tree, a laughing monkey swings down and gives you a big thumbs up. Pause for a moment, close your eyes, and replay that little movie in your mind. You'll find that you can remember every single word in the exact order: apple, horse, jacket, candle, ice cream, cloud, socks, chair, tree, monkey. Why is this so much easier? Because it's no longer a boring list. It's a movie playing in your brain. Stories create powerful connections. Each item logically, or sometimes illogically, leads to the next. Stories have movement, which your brain loves to watch. Stories have emotion. Even if it's just silliness or surprise, your brain says, "This is fun. Let's remember this." Stories also create a rich visual scene. So now, it's not just text in your head, it's a living memory. This is exactly why children can remember their favorite fairy tales word for word, but forget their math lessons from the day before. It's why famous movie lines stick in your mind for years, but the news headlines you read this morning are already gone. So, how can you use this for your own memory? Want to remember your to-do list for tomorrow? Don't just write it as a list. Turn it into a short, funny story in your mind. Want to remember new foreign words? Turn each word into a vivid image and connect them in a story. Preparing for a speech without notes? Make every point in your speech part of a larger story you walk through in your mind. Here's an important truth. The story doesn't need to be logical or realistic. In fact, the crazier, funnier, or more unusual it is, the better. Your brain holds on tightly to things that are surprising and unexpected, not normal and boring. Give yourself permission to be creative, weird, and even a little childish. This isn't just about improving your memory, it's about liberating it. It's about making learning fun again. If you apply the story method correctly, you can literally turn anything boring into something unforgettable. And that, my friend, is the true superpower of your memory. Now, let's move to step 5. Practice spaced repetition. Here's an important truth about learning. Learning something just one time is not real learning. Think back to school. Most of us crammed for exams the night before, thinking we would remember everything. But cramming doesn't work. Memorizing something once does not mean it's stored in your memory forever. Your brain needs time, space, and repetition to save information permanently. This is where the powerful technique of spaced repetition comes in. It's one of the most effective, scientifically proven memory techniques in the world. Top language learners, medical students, memory champions, and high performers in every field use it. Let me explain it in a simple way. Even a 10-year-old could understand this. Imagine your memory is like writing in the sand on a beach. When you learn something new, it's like you write it clearly in the sand. It looks perfect, but then the wind of time comes. Waves of new information hit, and the writing starts to fade. By next week, it's completely gone. This is called the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. It shows that if you don't review new information, your brain naturally forgets it very quickly. It's not your fault, it's just how your brain is designed to avoid getting overloaded with too much information. So, how do we beat the forgetting curve? How do we turn that sand writing into a stone carving that lasts forever? Here's the method. Learn the information once. Review it after about 1 hour. Review it again after 1 day. Review it again after 2 or 3 days. Review it again after about a week. Review it again after 2 weeks. Each time you review, your brain sends a strong signal. Oh, this again. I've seen it before. It must be important. With every repetition, the memory is stored a little deeper until after 5 or 6 repetitions, it becomes almost permanent. Let's see a real-world example. Imagine you learn a beautiful English word, serendipity. It means finding something good or valuable without looking for it. You love the word. You feel smart. You might even tell a friend about it. But then, you never see it or use it again. A week later, you try to remember it and it's gone. Why? Because you didn't repeat it. You didn't tell your brain it was important. Now, let's try it the right way, using spaced repetition. Day 1. You learn the word serendipity. About an hour later, you write a sentence with it. I found this beautiful little coffee shop by pure serendipity. That night, before you go to sleep, you say the word and its meaning out loud again. Day 2. You actively try to use it in a conversation. Day 4. You see the word in an article and smile because you recognize it. Day 7. You hear it in a podcast and it feels familiar, like an old friend. Day 14. You teach the word to someone else. Now, that word belongs to you forever. You didn't just meet it once. You build a relationship with it over time. Many successful learners use free digital tools like Anki, Quizlet, or Brainscape to help them do this automatically. These apps are designed to schedule reviews exactly when your brain needs them, so you don't forget what you've worked so hard to learn. Spaced repetition is the secret behind strong, lasting memory. It's not magic, it's science. And when you combine it with the previous steps we've covered, attention, images, stories, you will truly have a memory system that works. These apps, like Anki, Quizlet, or Brainscape, use flashcards and automatically schedule them for you to review based on a spaced repetition algorithm. They test you at exactly the right intervals, so your brain has the best chance to store the information permanently. But here's the good news. Even if you don't want to use an app, you can do this yourself with simple paper flashcards. You can create a system with several boxes. When you learn a new word, it goes into box 1. When you review it and get it right, it moves to box 2, which you review every 2 days. Get it right again, and it moves to box 3, which you review every 4 days, and so on. It's not really about the tools. It's about the timing. So many people feel frustrated or broken with their memory. They say things like, "I read this chapter already. Why don't I remember it?" Or, "I studied for 5 hours straight. Where did all that information go?" The answer is simple. No review equals no memory. Learning something once is like pouring a cup of water on a small plant and then never watering it again. Of course it won't grow. Spaced repetition is like watering that plant gently again and again on different days. Slowly, over time, it grows deep, strong roots, and can stand tall forever. If you apply this one technique, your memory will stop being temporary. It will become permanent, reliable, and always ready whenever you need it. Now, let's move to step 6, using emotional connection. This is where your memory becomes truly powerful. Our feelings are what make memories last. Here's something so important that it can completely change your relationship with memory. The stronger the emotion you feel when you learn something, the deeper that memory will be. Think about your own life for a moment. Do you remember the exact clothes you were wearing 7 days ago? Probably not. That's boring, unimportant information. But I bet you remember the day someone broke your heart. Or a time you felt deeply embarrassed in class. Or the moment someone gave you a heartfelt compliment that made you feel like you could fly. Why do these moments stick in your mind so clearly, even years later? It's because your brain doesn't just store facts and data, it stores feelings. Emotion acts like a special kind of glue for memory. That's why this step is so powerful. If you want to remember something deeply and for a long time, you must attach an emotion to it. You could read a boring sentence from a textbook 10 times and forget it tomorrow. But if you read a sentence in a novel that makes you cry, laugh out loud, or feel a surge of motivation, you'll remember that sentence for the rest of your life. Here's the science behind it. When you experience a strong feeling, it activates a part of your brain called the amygdala. The amygdala then sends a signal to the parts of your brain responsible for memory. That signal basically says, "Hey, pay attention. This is important." And when your brain hears that signal, it stores the memory much more strongly. Here's an important idea to remember. When your brain says, "Store this one forever," it's because the information has meaning and emotion. So, if you want to remember anything you're studying, you need to ask yourself a few questions. How does this information make me feel? Can I connect this to a real experience from my own life? Can I find a way to care about this information deeply? Let's take an example. Imagine you are studying a historical date, April 15th, 1912, the day the Titanic sank. Most people try to memorize this like a robot. April 15th, 1912. Titanic. They don't care about it, so they quickly forget it. Now, let's try something different. Instead of just reading the date, you spend a few minutes learning the stories of the people on the ship. You read about the more than 1,500 people who lost their lives in the freezing water. You imagine the musicians who bravely kept playing their instruments to calm the passengers. You think about the mothers holding their children close. You read about lovers whispering their last goodbyes. You learn about people who gave up their spots on lifeboats to save strangers. Suddenly, this date isn't just a number anymore. It's a human story. It's a tragedy. It's a powerful reminder of love, loss, and bravery. And now, I promise you, you will never forget April 15th, 1912, because you feel it. Every time you're learning something new, ask yourself, can I turn this into a personal connection? Have I experienced something similar in my own life? Can I feel joy, anger, sadness, or surprise from learning this? If the answer is yes, your brain will hold on to that memory for a very long time. If the answer is no, your brain will likely treat that information like trash and delete it within hours. This works even when learning new English vocabulary. Don't just memorize the definition of a word, feel the word. For example, take the word abandon. Don't just learn that it means to leave something or someone. Think about a time you felt abandoned or left behind. Or think about a dream you had to give up. Now that word isn't just a definition in a dictionary, it lives inside you. It has emotional weight, and your brain remembers emotions. Here's a bonus trick. If the topic is boring and you have no natural connection to it, you can fake the emotion. Even fake emotion helps your memory. For example, take a math formula. The area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height. Pretty boring, right? Now, make it emotional. Imagine the triangle is a delicious slice of pizza. You're really hungry, but the rule is you can only eat half. Think about the frustration and pain of only getting half a slice. That's silly. Fake feeling helps your brain remember the 1/2 part of the formula. Yes, it's a little silly, but your brain doesn't care about logic. It cares about emotion. Even a fake funny emotion is much better than no emotion at all. If you truly understand this principle and apply it to your learning, every lesson will feel alive. And what is alive never truly dies. And now we move to step 7. Teach what you learn. Teaching is one of the most underrated and powerful memory techniques on the planet. If you want to remember something forever, teach it to someone else. And don't wait until tomorrow or next week. Teach it immediately after you learn it. Here's why this works. The moment you decide to teach something, your role changes. You go from being a passive receiver of information to an active creator of knowledge. When you teach, your brain has to organize the information clearly, explain it in your own words, and make sure you truly understand it. That process strengthens your memory more than anything else. When you teach something, you stop being just a student. You start becoming the master. And that simple shift changes everything in your brain. When you teach something to someone else, you are forced to do 3 very important things. Recall the information clearly from your own memory. Organize that information in a logical way so it makes sense. Explain it in your own words clearly enough for someone else to understand. This process forces your brain to rebuild the knowledge from the inside out. And anything your brain can rebuild on its own, you will never forget. It's like carving that information into stone. Let's take an example. Today, you learn the English word procrastinate. You read the definition, to delay doing something important. You understand it. It makes sense. But if you just walk away and do nothing with it, your brain might think, okay, maybe this isn't that important. And within 24 hours, that word could vanish from your memory. But now, imagine you immediately turn to a friend, your sibling, or a colleague and say, "Hey, do you know the word procrastinate?" It means when we keep delaying things we know we should be doing, like our homework, going to the gym, or cleaning the kitchen. For example, I always procrastinate when it comes to doing the dishes. Boom. In that moment, Your brain just built a memory that will likely never die. Why? Because you didn't just learn it, you used it, shared it, and taught it. Now, when I say teach, I don't mean you have to become a professional teacher or stand in front of a classroom. You can teach in many simple ways. Explain what you just learned to a friend over coffee. Speak it out loud to yourself in the mirror, pretending to teach someone. Write a short social media post about what you learned. Record a voice note on your phone, pretending it's a mini podcast. Make a short video, even if no one ever watches it. You don't need an audience. You just need to activate the teacher mode inside your own brain. And when you do, you learn on a much deeper level than ever before. Scientific studies show that students who study a topic and then teach it to others can perform up to 90% better on tests than students who only study for themselves. Doctors who teach new procedures to interns remember them much faster and more accurately. Even spiritual leaders often say that teaching allows you to heal twice, once for the person you're teaching and once for yourself. Teaching is not the end of learning, it's the proof of learning. It's one of the most powerful mental tools in the world for building a strong, permanent memory. And the best part? It's completely free. It's fast, and it's available to you right now, this very moment. If you start applying this step in your daily life, you will become a memory machine. And more than that, you will inspire others to learn, simply by sharing what you know. Now, let's move on to explore one of the most legendary memory techniques in history, a method that has helped memory champions, actors, and scholars remember incredible amounts of information with ease. This is step 8. Create a mind palace. Why? Because your brain remembers places much better than it remembers facts. This technique has been used for thousands of years. Ancient Greek philosophers used it to memorize epic poems and long speeches. Today, modern memory champions use it to do incredible feats, like memorizing the exact order of an entire deck of cards in under a minute, memorizing entire speeches, or remembering hundreds of random facts in a very short time. This technique is called the mind palace or the method of loci. And now I'm going to show you how to build one for yourself. So, what exactly is a mind palace? Your brain is naturally amazing at remembering places. Think about it. You can probably remember the layout of the house you lived in as a child, even if it was 10 or 20 years ago. You can recall the color of the walls, where the sofa was, the smell of the kitchen, your favorite corner to hide and read a book. Why is that? Because our brains evolved to navigate the physical world. It loves space. It remembers places because places act as anchors for our information. Now, imagine this. What if you could take any information you want to remember, a list, a speech, or a set of facts, and mentally place it inside a location you know very well? Then, to remember it, you simply walk through that location in your mind and see each piece of information waiting for you. That is the power of the mind palace. Let's go step by step. Step 1. Choose a place you know extremely well. It could be your current home, your school, your favorite cafe, or even your daily route to work. The place must be very familiar so you can walk through it in your mind easily. Step 2. Imagine walking through that place. For example, if you choose your house, picture yourself walking through the main door, the living room, the kitchen, the bathroom, your bedroom, and the balcony. Try to visualize it as clearly as possible, almost like you're in a video game set in your own home. Step 3. Assign the things you want to remember to specific locations along your route. Place one item in each room or key point using vivid and unusual images. Let's try an example. Memorizing the first 8 planets of our solar system in order: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Here's how your mind palace might look. At your front door, imagine a giant thermometer with red Mercury boiling and on fire. That's Mercury, the hot planet closest to the sun. In your living room, you see a beautiful bottle of perfume spraying a pink, sweet-smelling fog everywhere. That's Venus, the goddess of love and beauty. In your kitchen, there's a spinning globe of Earth sitting in the sink, with water splashing everywhere. That's Earth. In your bedroom, your bed is completely covered in red dust. That's Mars, the red planet. On your balcony, a giant striped balloon bounces up and down like a huge ball. That's Jupiter, the largest planet. On the stairs, a glowing ring is wrapped around the post. That's Saturn with its famous rings. On the roof or terrace, there's a giant ice cube shivering on a chair. That's Uranus, the cold, icy planet. Finally, looking out towards your gate, you see a huge blue ocean splashing against it, with a giant trident sticking out of the water. That's Neptune, the Roman god of the sea. By placing each planet in a familiar location with a vivid, unusual image, you've created a mental path that your brain can follow. Instead of trying to remember random words or numbers, your memory now has a clear, visual route. Walking through this palace in your mind, you will remember the planets in perfect order. Now, I want you to do something very simple but powerful. Close your eyes and mentally walk through your house again. Start at the front door, then go to the living room, the kitchen, the bedroom, and so on. As you walk through, see those crazy, unusual images you placed in each room. You'll notice something amazing. You can recall the order of the planets perfectly, forwards and backwards. Why? Because you are using locations your brain already knows very well and adding fun, vivid, emotional stories inside those spaces. Your brain automatically associates the place with the memory, making it incredibly strong, sticky, and easy to recall. This is exactly how memory athletes do the incredible things they do. They can memorize hundreds of random numbers or long lists by turning them into images and placing them inside their vast mind palaces. And the best part? You can use this technique for almost anything. Memorizing speeches or presentations, learning new foreign words, remembering historical facts, studying for exams, memorizing lists or daily routines. The Mind Palace gives your information a structure, and your brain loves structure. It makes remembering much easier. Here are a few tips for success. Make the images inside your palace as strange, funny, and emotional as possible. The more unusual, the more your brain will remember them. Review your palace often by walking through it in your mind. The more you revisit it, the stronger the memory becomes. Keep using the same palace for important information. The more familiar it becomes, the better it works. And don't worry if it feels a little hard at first. Just like any new skill, the more you practice, the more powerful it becomes. If you truly use this technique, your brain will stop being a place where knowledge gets lost. Instead, it will become a beautiful temple where everything you need is safe, organized, and ready whenever you need it. Now, we move to step 9, review before you sleep. The night is magical for memory because this is when your brain decides what to keep and what to forget. Schools don't teach this, but it is scientifically proven. What you do in the last 10 to 15 minutes before you fall asleep can dramatically improve your long-term memory. Here's why. When you sleep, your brain is not just resting. It is busy. It is cleaning out toxins, organizing information, and deciding which things you learned today are important enough to keep. Imagine your brain has a careful librarian working the night shift. The librarian goes through all the books you opened during the day and decides, keep this one, delete this one, move this to long-term storage because it's important. But what tells the librarian what is important? How does your brain know what to save? The answer is repetition, emotion, and timing. So, if you review something right before bed, you are sending a very strong signal to your brain. You are basically telling the librarian, this is very important. Keep this one forever. This simple habit can turn your short-term memory into a permanent memory. And when you combine it with all the other steps, the mind palace, stories, images, attention, and teaching, you are building a memory that is powerful, reliable, and unstoppable. Please save this one carefully, because your brain really does listen. It's amazing how it works. Let's say, for example, you studied 10 new English words in the afternoon. You did well, but after that, you didn't look at them again for the rest of the day. Then, at night, just before going to bed, you scrolled through social media for half an hour. You watched 10 funny videos, looked at 5 random memes, and laughed at a few more things. As you fall asleep, your brain thinks, oh, these funny videos must be really important. It saw them right before sleep, so it works hard to store those memories. Meanwhile, your important English words? They might get thrown out with the mental trash from the day. Now, imagine a different scenario. You create a new nightly routine. Before bed, you put your phone away. You take just 5 quiet minutes. You sit calmly with your notebook or flashcards. You review those 10 English words. You whisper them out loud. You try to use each one in a sentence. You feel a little proud of yourself for learning them. Then you go to sleep. Now your brain's librarian thinks, yes, this is important. Let's work on moving this information into permanent memory. When you wake up the next morning, those words feel much stronger, clearer, and easier to remember. Here's a simple but powerful nightly ritual you can start tonight. Turn off all distractions, no phone, no TV, no loud music. Open your notebook or flashcards. Briefly review the most important things you learned that day, just 5 key points from a book or 3 new vocabulary words. Speak them out loud or silently in your mind. Close your eyes and visualize them, feeling proud of your effort. Go to sleep with a peaceful mind. That simple 5-minute ritual can change your memory forever. This step is special because it doesn't require extra time in your busy day. It uses the natural process of your sleep to strengthen your memory. Scientists call this memory consolidation, and it's proven to work. Not only does it improve memory, it also enhances your sleep quality and boosts your focus the next day. This is a hidden weapon that most people ignore, but the masters, the most effective learners, use it every single night. Now let's move on to step 10, write things down. Writing is like pressing the save button for your brain. There's a reason people often forget what they read, hear, or see, but they almost never forget what they write with their own hand. Why? Because the act of writing activates your brain in a completely different, more powerful way than just reading or listening. Writing slows your thinking down. It forces you to organize your thoughts into a clear structure. And it creates a strong physical and mental connection between your hand, your eyes, and your memory. Think of writing as the moment you physically lock your memory into place. If you don't write it down, the idea floats around in your short-term memory like an unsaved document. But if you write it down, it lands, it locks in place, and it lasts. When you only hear or read something, your brain is often passive. It might think, okay, that sounds interesting, and then forget it within a few minutes. But when you write it down, your brain becomes active. It says, wait a minute. This is serious. This matters. When you write something down, It's not just about remembering the words themselves. Writing helps your brain understand the meaning behind the words. And when you truly understand something, that's when real lasting learning begins. Let's take an example. Imagine you want to learn the English word resilience. You read the dictionary definition. Resilience equals the ability to recover quickly after difficulties. You smile because you understand the concept. But if you don't use it, don't say it, don't repeat it, and don't write it, you will probably forget it by tomorrow. Now, here's a better method. Take out your notebook and pen. Write the word, resilience. Write the meaning, the ability to bounce back after tough times. Write your own sentence using the word. After losing his job, he didn't give up. His resilience helped him find a new path. Make a personal connection. I want to become more resilient in my own life, too. This process might take only 60 seconds, but now that word is no longer just a definition. It's a story. It's a feeling. It's part of your life. You have physically written it into your brain. You might be thinking, what about typing on a computer or phone? Typing is fast, but it's not as effective. When you type, your fingers often move automatically, without much thought. But when you write by hand, you slow down. You feel the shape of each letter, see every curve and line as you form it. That physical action builds deeper and more complex memory pathways in your brain. Scientific studies confirm this. Students who write their notes by hand remember information better than students who only type notes or highlight text on a screen. So, if you want a truly powerful memory, grab a pen, use a dedicated notebook, and make your learning a physical activity. What should you write? Anything you want to remember. New vocabulary words. Important facts for an exam. Motivational lines that inspire you. Key ideas from books or videos. Quotes that touch your heart. Life lessons you never want to forget. Writing is like building your personal library. You are actively structuring your own mind, one sentence at a time. A notebook filled with your own thoughts and discoveries, written with love and attention, is worth more than hundreds of videos watched without action. Start building the habit of writing daily, even if it's just one sentence. This is not only good for your memory, it's a superpower for clear thinking. This brings us to step 11, active recall. Active recall is the process of testing yourself, and it is what builds a true, unshakable memory. Most people make a huge mistake when learning something new. They keep reading the information, looking at the answers again and again, and think, I understand this. I've got it. But here's the critical point. Understanding something is not enough. Your memory only strengthens when you actively recall it from your mind without looking at the answer. Understanding something is not the same as truly remembering it. A lot of people make this mistake. They think, I understand this while I'm looking at it, so I know it. But understanding while looking isn't enough. The real test is, can you remember it when it is not in front of you? If you can't, then that knowledge is not really yours yet. It is still floating somewhere temporarily, ready to be forgotten. That's where active recall comes in. Active recall is one of the most powerful memory techniques in the world, and it is very simple. Here's how it works. You close the book. You pause the video. You turn off the app. You ask yourself, can I remember this information? No peeking, no copying, no cheating. It's just you and your brain. That act of struggling to pull information out from your memory is exactly what makes your memory stronger. The more effort your brain puts into recalling information, the more tightly it holds onto it. Let's take an example. Imagine you are learning this sentence. Consistency is more important than intensity. You read it. You like it. You understand what it means. But now comes active recall. Cover the sentence with your hand. Ask yourself, what was that sentence? What does it mean? Can I say it in my own words? Can I explain it to a friend? The first time you try, you might struggle. Maybe you only remember half of it. That's okay. That struggle is a good sign. That is where real learning is happening. Your brain is working hard, building stronger connections. Do it again the next day. Now you remember it better. Repeat it next week. Soon, that sentence becomes permanent in your memory. Why does this work so well? Think of your brain like a muscle in a gym. Reading over and over is like watching someone else lift weights. Easy, but it doesn't make you stronger. Active recall is like lifting the weights yourself. Every time you pull information out of your memory, it's like lifting a mental dumbbell. Your brain grows stronger and more capable of holding information permanently. Here are some simple ways to use active recall every day. After reading a page in a book, close the book and try to write a short summary of what you just read. After watching an educational video, pause it and say out loud the main points you learned. Use flashcards. Look at the question side and try your hardest to recall the answer before flipping it over. Before bed, think about 3 new things you learned that day and recall them from memory without notes. Ask yourself questions like, what does this new English word mean? Can I use it in a sentence? The key is, don't just reread your notes or watch videos again. That's passive learning and it barely sticks. Instead, retrieve the information, rebuild it in your mind, and recall it. That is how strong, reliable memory is built. Yes, I know it can feel uncomfortable. Active recall takes effort. It is much easier to just read or watch something again. But if you want a memory that lasts forever, a memory you can rely on under pressure, you must challenge yourself every day. This is how champions are made. This is how deep knowledge is created. If you make active recall a part of your daily learning routine, your brain will become strong, reliable, and truly unstoppable. Finally, we've arrived at step 12, the last step, and in many ways, the most important step for our modern lives. This step is about protecting your mind from overload. Why? Because a brain that is full of clutter cannot remember anything clearly. Here's a truth almost nobody talks about. Your brain is not a computer with unlimited storage. It wasn't designed to carry everything. It's designed to carry only what matters. But today, most of our brains are completely overloaded. Full of noise. Full of junk. Full of information that doesn't help us or belong in our lives. So, if you feel like you're forgetting things, don't blame yourself. You're not lazy or unintelligent. You're forgetting because your mind is cluttered. Imagine your brain space like a small container. If it's filled with 10,000 useless notifications, random memes, news clips, and opinions, there is no room left for the one idea or lesson that could actually change your life. That's why memory fails, not because your brain is weak, but because it's crowded. Let's picture a typical day. For many of us, the day starts with mindless scrolling on social media before we even get out of bed. Maybe we watch 5 short videos, check 3 different messaging apps, and scroll through endless posts. By 9 a.m., we've already absorbed hundreds of opinions and pieces of information, none of which really belong to us. Our brain is exhausted before we've even started our real work. Our memory is already on strike. Here's a metaphor. Your brain is like a glass of water. If you keep pouring more and more information into it without emptying it out, eventually it will overflow and spill. When it overflows, the important things get lost. That's why you forget what really matters. Let's take a concrete example. You make a simple mental grocery list: milk, bread, apples, soap, and onions. You don't write it down because you think you'll remember it. It's just 5 things. But then your day starts. You check your phone. Scroll through 25 notifications. Watch a few YouTube videos. Reply to messages on WhatsApp. Scroll Instagram. Read a news story. Laugh at some memes. Chat about a new Netflix show. By the time you get to the grocery store, your mind is completely blank. You might remember the milk and apples, but you forget the onions and soap. Frustrating, right? But it's not because you're stupid or weak. It's because your brain was flooded with unimportant information. Your important grocery list was buried under a mountain of noise. Your mind is like a garden, not a dumping ground. You need to protect it. If you let weeds, meaningless, distracting information grow unchecked, they will choke out the flowers, the things that really matter. Every day, you must ask yourself, what am I letting into my mind today? Is this information helping me grow, or is it cluttering my memory? Am I building myself up or burying myself in noise? If you want a better memory, you need better mental boundaries. You need to be intentional about what you allow in. Protect your mind like a precious garden. Clear the clutter, focus on what matters, and your memory will grow strong, clear, and reliable. Here are a few powerful habits to protect your brain and keep it clear, strong, and focused. 1. Start your day in silence. Before you touch your phone in the morning, give yourself just 5 minutes of stillness. Sit quietly. Breathe. Set a positive intention for your day. Let your brain wake up clean and calm, instead of immediately being flooded with noise and distractions. 2. Limit useless information. Unfollow social media accounts that just create noise. Mute group chats that aren't important. Don't let your brain become a trash bin for other people's distractions. Your mind deserves to be a space for what truly matters. 3. Use journaling to empty your head. Every night before bed, write down your thoughts and worries. This helps your mind release stress and focus on what is important. By doing this, your brain can rest and process the day more clearly. 4. Practice digital fasting. Take 1 hour every day without your phone or computer. Just you, your notebook, and your thoughts. You'll be amazed at how light and clear your mind feels when you give it a break from constant digital noise. 5. Choose what deserves your energy. Not every message needs an immediate reply. Not every video needs your attention. Not every thought deserves a permanent place in your memory. Protect your mind like you protect your home. You wouldn't let random strangers sleep in your bedroom, so don't let random useless content live rent-free in your brain. This is not just a helpful tip, it's a requirement for mental survival in today's world. Memory isn't just about learning new things. It's about making space for what truly matters. From today, be ruthless about what you allow into your mental world. You only get one brain. Don't waste it on noise. This brings us to the conclusion of the 12 proven steps to remember anything for life. These steps are not just tricks or tips. They're a powerful transformational system that can help you remember faster and more clearly. Speak better English. Learn anything on a deeper level. Feel confident in your own mind. Take back control of your focus, attention, and learning. But knowing these steps is not enough. You must live by them. Practice them every single day. Building a real memory is not about being a genius. It's about the small daily decisions you make. Do you write down what you learn? Do you teach what you remember? Do you protect your brain from overload? Do you review before you sleep? Do you turn words into pictures? Do you build your mind palace? Do you attach emotion to your learning? Do you clear your mental clutter? If the answer is yes, then welcome. You are no longer just someone who remembers well. You are someone who remembers what matters. This journey we took today isn't just about memory. It's about awakening the incredible power inside your mind. And one last thing, this practice didn't only help your memory. It also helped your English. Every sentence, every word, and every step has strengthened your focus, clarity, and understanding of English. Now, the tools are in your hands. Use them daily, and your memory, your learning, and your life will change forever. If you enjoyed this episode, if it made you think deeper, feel stronger, and learn smarter, then don't leave without subscribing to our channel, Super English Talks. Here, we don't just study English. We grow our minds, sharpen our focus, build discipline, confidence, and fluency, step by step. Every week, you'll get new content designed to make you not only better at English, but also stronger in your memory, focus, and your ability to learn anything. Your mind is ready. Your future is waiting. And together, we can make your learning truly unforgettable. So please, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and make sure you never miss a lesson. Every episode is an opportunity to grow, strengthen your mind, and unlock your true potential. Thank you for listening. Now, go out, apply what you learned, and start building a stronger, sharper, unstoppable mind today.